graph. I'm going to use this screenshot from one of my programs to discuss finding the limit by means of a graph. Let's suppose that you were asked to find the limit here of our function, this piecewise function, as x approached 0. Now, of all the points on this graph grid, the places that have an x of 0 fall on the y-axis. All the points on the y-axis have an x of 0. But we're not interested in just any one of those points. We're interested in the points that along this line when the function is headed towards this line. Now, our function comes down from below and comes up in an open circle here, and then it makes a jump in a filled-in circle, and our function comes along like this. And we're trying to see what happens as our function approaches this blue line. Well, you can see that if we think about it, it's moving from the left, and if the function is moving from the left and it gets closer and closer to an x of 0, the y is also 0. Then if we look to see what's happening as the function moves towards the 0, the blue line from the right, or headed from the right, we see that the y value here is also headed to 0. Since the limit from the left and the limit from the right agree, then we can say the limit of this function as x approaches 0 is that 0. That's pretty straightforward. Now let's delete these arrows here and consider a different scenario about where it's headed from. Let's see. Let's say we ask the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x. Well, where does x get to be 3? X is 3 anywhere along this vertical line. So as x approaches 3 from the left, you see that the y value is headed to 1. And as x approaches 3 from the right, the y is headed to 1. So this has a limit. It's 1. But let's look at a place that's a little bit more interesting. What if we said the limit of our function as x approaches -7? Get a different color here. X approaches -7. We would look to see what happens when there's -7. It's anywhere along this line. So if our function is coming at that red line from the left, we see that the limit from the left it's headed towards 1. Whereas if we try to find the limit from the right, it's not headed towards 1, it's headed towards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the limit from the right is headed towards 5. Let me get something. It's headed towards a y of 5, whereas from the left, it's headed for a limit of 1. Since 1 and 5 are not the same, the answer to this question is that this limit does not exist. Now, we can separate these two limits, and the notation is done like this. The limit as x approaches -7 from the left, and you put a little negative sign up in the air behind the -7 of f of x, is asking what's the limit from the left. And the limit from the left of this is 1. And in a like manner, if we said what's the limit as x approaches -7 from the right, we put a little plus sign up here of f of x, and we find that it's headed towards 5. So we can have left-handed limits, right-handed limits, or general limits. Sometimes there's a value for the general limit from both sides. Sometimes there is not. There's only a limit when the left-hand limit and the right-hand limit agree.